pleasure at some point in everyone's life, you'll have to travel by plane, which means you'll have to deal with the airport. But everything's going to go smoothly because you have me to tell you about all the things you need to do to get by. And I know you're thinking, people fly all the time, why do I need to hear this? Well, I've been flying for a really long time. I've been flying since I was about 3.5 internationally. They're once or twice a year, so that's 2 to 4 times, because when I fly, I have to come back. So give or take, that's like over 40 flights, plus the ones that are not to Brazil, which is where I'm originally from. So I fly a lot. And the reason I'm here today is to tell you about the pre-flight preparations, the general rules and procedures at the airport, and the proper etiquette when flying. So first of all, when you go to fly, you need to prepare yourself beforehand. Not a lot of preparation, but there's some. You need to make sure you have all your identification with you. So you might want to make sure you have your passport because you are not leaving the country without that. And the other thing is your luggage. When I fly to Brazil, we have a weight limit on the luggage, so your luggage cannot weigh more than 32 kilos, and you can only have 2 luggages per passenger. And you might want to call whatever airline you're flying with beforehand to find out what the actual weight limit for them is. And if you go above their maximum weight limit, you can't even take that on. If you go above the whatever weight limit is, you'll probably have to pay a fee. So you want to make sure you get that out of the way. When you fly, you should dress comfortably. How I am dressed, this is how I fly, minus the shoes. I wear sneakers or flip-flops because these are terrible to take off during security. You're going through checkpoints and stuff. So sneakers and flip-flops are generally great. You can wear jeans if you like. I don't, they make me itchy. So yeah, and you always want to make sure you pack your stuff and you leave something so you can change into before you fly, because otherwise you have to go back into your luggage and you mess everything up. Your carry-ons. Anything you take on the plane has to follow, there are certain things you cannot take on the plane. TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, has rules of what you can bring and not bring. So you do not want to bring weapons on the plane. You can't bring liquids. There's the 311 rule, which states that you can bring 3.4 ounces or smaller containers of liquid or gel, and a 1/4 size clear plastic zip top bag containing those 3.4 ounces or smaller containers, and it's 1 bag per traveler. So 311, and you can find that on their website, the TSA website. And you don't want to bring guns. Don't even bring your Nerf guns, they'll cause you trouble. So that's basically it. Also, planes are cold, so bring sweaters and extra socks. And the next thing is when you go through checkpoint. So when you're about to before you get into the gates, you need to pass through security, and security does not have a sense of humor. So don't make jokes, don't say anything that could be considered threatening. My dad has a friend whose idiot brother-in-law decided to make a joke. He was bringing a wheel pump, like a pump for air, and the word pump in Portuguese is the same word for bomb. So when they're like, what is that? He says bomb. And then after 6 hours of being interrogated by security, he was deported and he is not allowed to come back into the country. So you guys don't want to do that. And another thing is the x-ray machines. When you pass through the x-ray machines, you have to take your shoes off, your belts off, anything in your pocket, any kind of metal. Why I travel like this, I don't have any metal on me. So you need to make sure you get everything out. You need to take your laptops out of your suitcases and just leave them there. You don't have to take out iPads or iPods or whatever. You can just leave them in your bag. And when you go through the x-ray machine, it's literally 3 seconds. You stand, it goes, they tell you to come out. And I know there's controversial with those machines because of they say there's radiation and all that stuff. It's less radiation than you get getting your arm x-rayed or your teeth x-rayed, and they're really safe. TSA spokesman David Klasterver said that the new machines are expected to speed up the lines, and they rely on a computer program, not necessarily the TSA people, to find whatever could be a threat. So it's not like someone's looking at your naked body, so don't worry, it's not unconstitutional. And you can find more about that online on the websites for the airports. And when you finally have made it through airport security, you can go find your gate, but make sure you're listening to the intercom because they often change where the gates are. Lastly, if you are, traveling with children, you want to make sure you keep an eye on your kids, because if they go missing or your luggage goes missing, then you can't fly. And Traveling Today recommends that you always keep an eye on your luggage, especially because you don't know what people could be putting into your luggage. They want to make sure everyone's safe. The last thing is to remember that you are not flying alone. So when you get on that plane, remember, do not be obnoxious. Do not be loud. Do not be talking on your phone before takeoff. Do not fight with the air people when they tell you to put your seat up. You need to be conscious that there are 250 to 500 people on that flight with you, and they're all in this really small plane, and some people get claustrophobic and it's not fun. Use headphones when you're listening to music. Don't use your speakerphones. And people like their personal space, so don't be falling asleep on the guy next to you. No one likes that. Also, be considerate to the fact that you should not start fights on the airplane, because that has happened to me before. These two guys started fist fighting on a plane, and then one of their fathers had a heart attack, and then we were on the ground for 2 hours because we had to make an emergency landing, and we missed our connecting flight, and that was no fun. So don't start fights on planes. Lastly, if you're flying with kids, make sure your kids aren't running up and down the aisle, tripping over people's feet, because no one likes that, especially on 8-hour flights. Make sure your kid isn't kicking the seat in front of you, and make sure they're entertained, because you don't want them doing those things. Also, when you have kids flying with you, a lot of the times they get pressure, the pressure builds up in their ear and it hurts a lot. So when you're around kids, you need to make sure to be considerate, oh, maybe they're not crying because they're obnoxious, maybe they're crying because they're in pain. And USA Today has a lot of travel tips for when you're flying with kids and how to prevent that. So overall, just be generally respectful, and flying should be easy, and it should not be painful. And as long as you follow these procedures where you prepare, you follow the rules, and you're overall a respectful person, everything will go fine. So next time you fly, don't feel nervous or scared, because now you know what you have to do. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy your flight.